You just saw our program before over at JR Sports Bar and Grill. Those kids love Eltoro Freeman and what he's able to do with Sonny Wilson and coaching that team. But Eltoro, it's a pleasure to have you out here tonight.
Pleasure to be here.
I tell you what, a lot of exciting things going on, and kind of ironically, we're in the Auburn Blitz segment of the show, so I know you don't mind that.
No, sir.
Auburn Blitz segment brought your way by Dane Sharp, attorney at law, across the street from the Tallapoosa County Courthouse in Daleville, Alabama. 256-825-4631 is his phone number, or go down there and see him in Daleville, Alabama. I want to welcome in on the phone now, as we do each and every week, Andy Graham here in the Auburn Blitz. Andy, thanks for joining us tonight.
It's good to be here with two good Auburn men.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This man over here to my right laid his heart and soul on the field every time he went out there for the Auburn Tigers. So we're glad to have him here in the Auburn Blitz segment. But, Andy, I'll start with you first, and let's talk about last week's performance, Auburn and LSU. Every prediction we had last week didn't give Auburn a chance at all. It were 3 and 4 and 5 touchdown differences in the predictions, and Auburn really lost the game themselves. They had several opportunities to beat LSU, and they just could not come up with the play. Yeah,
you know, the first play of the game was kind of it's really a microcosm of the season. You know, Sammy Coates has been able to get open deep. He was open on the play. Frazier made an excellent throw. It looked like it could have been a little interference, but the ball went through his hands. You know, I saw a quote from him today that, you know, he said he should have made the catch. He could have won the game, you know, with that catch. And in hindsight, that's true, but you certainly didn't know it at the time. But you're right, Auburn played a lot, so much better. I mean, they played with more passion defensively. We talked about the week before they were going to have a little bit of a little better time stopping LSU just because of the offense that LSU runs. It certainly benefits Auburn when they play a team that doesn't throw the ball 50 times.
That's exactly right, and matchups. And Eltoro, I'll kick it over to you. Matchups are so key. It's amazing. You know, LSU comes in ranked number 2 in the country. Auburn struggles really more in the previous weeks against more spread attacks, like a Mississippi State and even the Louisiana Monroe that really spread you out, and Auburn has difficult times covering that. But it's amazing that the number 2 ranked team comes in so powerful. Auburn lines right up toe-to-toe, and that equals them up. And you were right there in the middle of that. You played all these teams. Talk about that a little bit on matchups as far as defense.
For one, you know, as far as running the run game, I mean, when you make a team one-dimensional, it makes it really easy to defend them. And with me watching the game and seeing that LSU really couldn't throw the ball, really wasn't spreading them out or whatever, and it really was trying to do the pound game, and it wasn't working. So that allowed Auburn to load the box up and to stop the run.
And the defensive line, Eltoro, made a lot more tackles than they've had in the previous 3 weeks. And I thought they did an outstanding job getting some push up front. But LSU did try to establish a run. They really couldn't do it.
And, you know, the thing that stood out to me was they played with a lot more excitement. You know,
there was more excitement.
Yeah, when you play with that type of energy and you having that much fun, I mean, the sky's the limit, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Andy, a guy that wants to have a week to forget would be Quan Bray. The muffed punt at midfield, really Auburn had gained the momentum, forced LSU to punt. They had great field position, had a chance to come down. With Cody Parkey, you felt really good about a chance to take the lead and go up on LSU. But the punt, actually we were leading at the time, but you have the football, but the muff punt gives LSU the ball back. They drive down, kick a field goal. And then, of course, I noticed on the review of the tape, when Ontario McCaleb was coming off the goal line on the kickoff, he had one block he needed, and the block that was missed was Quan Bray's man. He just didn't get out in front of him, and his guy was able to get out there and make a tackle on Ontario McCaleb, or he would have taken it 100 yards, seized the momentum back, and gained the lead back. And then later on in the week, he turns out that he gets in a little trouble with the law. So Quan Bray, just not a good week for him.
No, absolutely not. You know, I talked about him at the very beginning of the season. I thought he had a great opportunity to have a breakout year, and now what he's known for at this point in the season is an extremely inopportune time to fumble the first punt of the year. Like you said, we would have had the ball at the 50-yard line. We had some momentum. It would have been you never know, how things are going to turn out, but that turned out to be the difference in the game. LSU got the ball, went down, kicked a field goal. As far as the arrest, it's kind of it's an unfortunate and disturbing trend at Auburn right now. But it wasn't really a big deal, the arrest. I mean, obviously the kid had a limited permit license that he should not have been driving. But if you're going to do that, you cannot call attention to yourself with the loud music, and so you got to be a little smarter. And like you said, he's had a terrible week. He's not going to play against Arkansas. We don't know when he'll be back, but I would imagine it won't be too long. But possibly it could be a good thing. This could be an opportunity maybe for Ricardo Lewis to step forward and maybe show what he can do.
Eltoro, I want to ask you a question about the mentality of a football team. You guys, a couple years ago, went undefeated. You went on to win a national championship at Auburn. Won the first since 1957. I know that's special. You'll carry that with you for the rest of your life.
Yes,
nobody take that away from that Auburn football team. And you were part of 2 8-5 teams as well down at Auburn. And so you really didn't have a chance, and I know you're glad, to experience what these players are experiencing. They're 1-3 on the season. Know they have an important game against Arkansas, a team that's flailing a little bit, coming in and looks a little discombobulated. What is the mentality of this team? I know you've talked to some of the guys. You got to be teeter-tottering on being fragile right now at 1-3. And as Luke just said, D. Ford came out today and said if we lose to Arkansas, in essence, that's our season. Their back's against the wall. Do they feel that way?
Yeah, they feel that way, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't feel that way at all. They should just come out there and be ready to play and go hard and win the game.
Yeah.
And the difference between the 2010 team is that we had a leader getting the ball every single play, and that was Cam Newton. And that's what Kyle Frazier need to do. He need to stand up and be a leader, and and take charge. Ignore all the critics, ignore all the talk. Because you know how it go. You do good, you got all the applause. Yeah, you do bad, then you the sorriest thing. Yeah. So he need to ignore all of that. Yep. The team need to get around them, and the Auburn fan need to get around them.
That's right.
They need to quit pointing the finger. They need to quit. Everybody need to get around the team and support the team and support him and show him love and show him that we there for him. And things will change.
Absolutely. And Andy, you made mention this is Kyle Frazier's game here. He can make it or break it, and he can win every Auburn fan back, and things can get right back on track. Auburn has a stretch here of about 5 or 6 games where they can run off here and be in good shape going into Georgia. And if you can build confidence and do some things right, you never know how the season's going to end. But you're right. El Toro's right. You got to rally around. If Kyle Frazier's the man, they've got to rally around him, support him, and try to get him over this hump.
Look, Arkansas defense is 117th in the country against the pass. They have given up 1,747 yards and 14 touchdowns through the air. This has got to be the week that Frazier steps forward and starts completing, a higher percentage of passes, because there are going to be opportunities. That doesn't mean that Auburn should throw the ball 40 times, but we need to be more balanced. And if we're ever if he's ever going to step forward and show that, he's going to take the reins of this offense and lead them to victory, this is the defense to do it against.
And you're exactly right, Andy. And I tell you what, I think Auburn at home, it's an 11 o'clock game, and then Auburn's got to get used to these 11 o'clock kickoffs. Yeah. When you're 1-3 and you're playing another team that's 1-3, you're going to draw the short straw, but you got to be ready to play early. There should be a lot of enthusiasm. There should be a good crowd there, because Auburn really, really feels like this is their game. You got to defend that home turf, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Arkansas is a team that Auburn historically has had problems with. Mm-hmm. Even when Auburn's been really good, it's been a struggle. So nothing's a given. You got to forget what Arkansas's done to this point. You got to forget what Auburn's done to this point. You got to go out like it's 0-0 in the win-loss column, and you got to go out and attack. But I think Auburn's going to take some momentum into this game, especially defensively, off this LSU game. And I think Auburn wins the game at home. And I think maybe we start to see some positive things surround this team. But, Andy, we really appreciate you being part of the program tonight. Anything else you'd like to add in closing?
Arkansas is looking for a reason to lose, and Auburn needs to go out and give them one.
I agree with that. I think that's well said. So I think Eltoro agrees with that too. Andy, thanks so much. Appreciate it, and hopefully next week we're talking to you after a big Auburn win.
Absolutely. War Eagle.
War Eagle. Thank you so much. That's Andy Graham with the Auburn Blitz. Eltoro, you're going to hang around for one more segment. Me and you're going to dive into all kind of things out here and talk about what you're doing with the youth program here, which is really flourishing here in Alexander City, and then your pro career, because your pro career is right there and still talking to a lot of teams and still working out. I think I don't really have to tell anybody that. I think everybody can look at that. So, but we're going to come back. Eltoro Freeman here with me, and we'll have more Sportz Blitz Live right after this.